Welcome to the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Join us each week as we sit down with the founder of Alchemy Wealth Management and author of Your Fiscal Physical, Ryan Nelson. Tune in to gain valuable insights and practical tips as we simplify complex financial concepts into digestible lessons. From budgeting to retirement planning, this podcast is your go-to resource for mastering financial literacy.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of the Fiscal Physical Podcast. I am joined, as always, by Mr. Ryan Nelson. Ryan, how are you on this gorgeous day?
I'm doing well today. How are you doing, Aaron?
I'm doing terribly, you know. No, I'm just kidding, dude. I'm doing great, man. It's always a pleasure to sit down with you here, do some fiscally physical talking. I don't know if that made sense, but yeah, we're ready to get into this episode here. We're cruising right along here, man. Does it feel like yesterday we just started this, or feel like like a year and 8 months?
A little of both. A little column A, a little column B. I think at times this feels like it flies, right? It's like everything, right? Sometimes it feels like it's been so long ago that we recorded the first episode, and at the same time feels like just yesterday that we launched it. So
yeah, it is well said. It's just like sometimes I'm just like, oh wow, we're on like episode 80 plus at this point, and I'm just like, holy smokes, like that's like one of the, you think about it, I was like, that's one of the longest relationships I've had in my life.
Yeah.
like that over that time of year. So it's pretty fun. But appreciate it, man, as always. And we're going to dive in today. This is something I was really excited to get to this episode here to talk about subscriptions. Actually, shout out to my wife, Adriana, who suggested that we do something on subscriptions because
awesome.
Recently her and I have looked to, kind of do some auditing on our finances and such too, and we kind of were looking and we're just like, oh wow, we pay for a lot of subscription services, like what's going on here? And so I was diving into this and checking it out, and it's interesting. You think about subscription services, subscription overload, if you will, and like I was Googling this and it talked about it being like a silent killer of finances, and I was like, well, that's an interesting way to put it. But I mean, I think we've all kind of been there where I think we've talked about it on this podcast too, about like your chess.com.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like that definitely gets you. You just forget that you have these subscriptions, whether it be streaming services, gym memberships, things that you sign up for monthly, whatever it might be. So I think it's a good thing to break down and potentially provide some advice or insight on how some person can like manage those subscriptions in the best financial way.
Yeah, let's do it. So maybe before we dive in, I feel like gyms were like the original subscription service,
Yeah.
So what I think is almost maybe a little interesting is like why, so subscriptions almost feel like this new thing that we've been semi-inundated with over the last like decade, right? Like I don't think they were as prevalent before that. So why do you think these businesses are offering subscriptions?
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel like in some case subscriptions have always been there. I think about like magazines or something when I was growing up, like, oh, we got National Geographic in my house and such too. But I feel like one of the reasons is subscriptions, people just kind of forget about them.
Yeah.
And you're at the same time though, sometimes I'm getting a good product out of it. Like I think about like Apple TV, for example. I don't really watch a lot of things on that, but I downloaded
Ted Lasso.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Like I watched season 1 on that. I deleted Apple TV, signed back up when season 2 came out, and I did it again for season 3. And I'm just like, well, I'm paying for this. Like, I don't know. Like, it just gets you.
Oh, yeah.
I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think reason why subscriptions are so prevalent is like they make financial sense for the selling company, right? The selling company is making money and they think they can make more money by selling a subscription than selling an annual cost or a project-based cost or something like that. And so I think ultimately, it makes financial sense for the business. And why does it make financial sense for the business? Because they're able to bill you a smaller amount per month, right?
Yep.
So maybe it feels a little more nominal if you're billing, $5 or $10 or
Totally.
$15. And so, like you said, it's a little bit easier to just kind of forget about, and you say, well, maybe I'll think about, maybe I'll finish, I watched half of Ted Lasso, maybe I'll watch the next half next month, so I'll just keep it for now, and then you kind of forget about it. It's like, well, just another month, I'll just keep it a little bit longer, right? All of a sudden, a year goes by and you haven't watched a single episode of Ted Lasso, and you're still paying for the subscription, right? So definitely the fact that it just auto renews month to month or year to year is like it's easy for us as the consumer just to kind of forget about it, put it out of sight, out of mind, which can again be dangerous. Why when you wake up one day and you're like, wait, I have like 70 different subscriptions somehow, right? 8 just for streaming services. But then again, they can feel sort of low cost, right? So like I saw in your notes, you had mentioned like death by 1,000 cuts. I think that was a good description, right? Like each individual one may only represent $15, but then when you have 20 of them, that adds up to a chunk of change, right? So they're kind of small, I'll put in air quotes, smaller, and feel sort of harmless, and it's easy for you to just kind of mentally justify, oh yeah, it's only like 15 more bucks. Well, I want to watch it.
And it's funny because like you mentioned like the $5. If I see something for $4.99, that is a steal automatically for me. I'm like, oh, that's under $5. I feel cool. I'm good with that. No problem. If something's like $4.99, I'm pretty pro buying that or getting that subscription. Like if I see, it's only going to cost $5 and I can do this for a month, then I'm almost like, I'll just cancel this later or whatever too. Sure. But like,
never have.
No, never have. Same with $9.99, less than $10, and I'm just like, there's a like psychological piece of that.
Yeah,
that just
absolutely. So a lot of people, it auto renews. They say, oh, I'll use it later. They can just kind of forget about what they have. What's interesting though is here I pulled some data. This is another one of those pieces of data that it's like I don't really trust, but it's probably directionally accurate. Sure. I don't even know where to go to get good data on this. But what's interesting is, so the average American estimates they spend around $86 a month on subscriptions. So $86 a month. What I find interesting, so if you go ask that random person, how much money do you spend per month in subscriptions? They're going to say $86. What I find interesting is the average person actually spends $219. So there's a huge disconnect. Again, are these numbers accurate? I don't know. I'm going to just go out on a limb and assume they're not. But hopefully they're a bit directionally accurate. Yeah. And so what that means is people are underestimating by like 2, almost 3 times what they have in subscriptions. And that's exactly it. If you have 10, 15, 20 of these different subscriptions, each at $5, $10, $15, $20, you lose track of them and you actually don't realize what you're spending, right? And it is easy to add up. You have your classics, which are like the streaming services, stuff like that. But you can have like you can get them for your iPhone. You can get a bunch of apps that have subscriptions, right? Yep. They're just like seemingly everywhere now. So it is interesting. A lot of us are spending a lot more money than we actually think on subscriptions, which is interesting. So if the average American is spending $219 a month, imagine what that could do in your Roth.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, cool. So that's a little bit about just subscriptions in general. But let's talk about if you're like, yeah, I know, Ryan, I got a lot of subscriptions. And I get it. Yeah. Then, so like next steps, it'd be like, well, you got to audit sort of what you have, right? And so the easiest way is to track everything. And so one good way of tracking it is through your credit cards and your bank statements. And every financial transaction you made is probably transacting through one of your banks. And those banks all keep records for you on your behalf.
They do.
So even if you haven't been keeping track of anything and you're like, I have no idea how many subscriptions I have, I would say that's probably fair and reasonable. But you could go back to your bank right now and your credit card company, pull all those statements, look back 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and start to kind of sort through and start to figure out what subscriptions you're actually paying. There's also some cool personal finance apps. There's like Rocket Money, Monarch, Copilot, YNAB. They can sort of automate this for you. You link your bank to them, and then they do this effectively just this audit for you manually or automatically.
Have you ever done any of those services yourself? I'm just purely curious.
I used what was it called? Was it Mint? I don't think that exists anymore.
I think it got bought out by.
I think Intuit just shut it down. I honestly I can't remember. I used Mint back in the day. Honestly, it's been so long that I don't.
Sure.
I don't. For all intents and purposes, no.
Yeah, I was just curious. I never have either. I see I saw it actually, funny, an ad the other day when I was watching TV.
Yeah.
And it mentioned like a subscription service thing and like where it would audit all your stuff and cool. Put it into like a sheet for you and organize it and all these different things. And I was like, It might have been one of these ones.
Do they charge a subscription?
They probably do.
I'm almost. I would bet they do.
I would bet they do as well. Yeah. Where do I categorize that?
Yeah. So what I do, I go the old-fashioned way, and I go pull these bank statements, and I put it into a spreadsheet. Which, honestly, these personal finance apps are probably a better use of my time. But I like spreadsheets, and I don't mind the manual work there. So I just use Excel.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
But once you get into like say Excel, if you're going to go the old fashioned way like me, then you want to sort of start categorizing it. So like look at like what are you paying for subscriptions from entertainment, utility, gym, right? Health,
sure,
like
definitely.
in fitness, business. So obviously I have a ton of subscriptions for my business, and then just like kind of random stuff. And then you can start to figure out like you might look and you might say, oh yeah, paying $10 a month to be able to watch Ted Lasso sounds reasonable. And then you start looking and you're like, man, between Amazon Prime and Netflix and Hulu and whatever else, you're like, God, I'm actually paying like $80 a month for TV, and maybe I don't watch it very much, right? So you can start to get a real feel for what you're actually paying, and then how it aligns with your values, and if you want to keep, if it's worth it to you or not. So the 3 questions I would ask once you do that categorization, I would say, do I use it regularly? Is it improving my life? Would I buy it again today? I like this last question. Would I buy it again today? So there's so many things where, maybe you have this subscription going and you're like, well, I already have it. I'm just going to leave it. Mm-hmm. But it's like, would you pay for it today? Like if you were given the chance to sign up for it today, if the answer is no, just go ahead and cancel that thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think we could probably all cut out a bunch of subscriptions if we were to subscribe by that. So basically your decisions would be like, just cancel this thing immediately. So if you see it showing up, you're not using it, you're not utilizing it, just cancel it, right? Otherwise, a lot of times you have options to either pause or downgrade. And so sometimes you're in a higher, subscription than you necessarily need. We use Notion to organize our notes here. I recently downgraded my Notion membership. So I was at one of the higher memberships, and now I went down to the free membership. And so that was just an opportunity to cut a cost where I wasn't using the original functionality.
Which we would gladly re-upgrade if Notion sponsored the podcast.
Sure.
So if anybody out there from Notion is listening, just keep that in mind.
If anybody wants to subscribe for $4.99, we can.
we'll take the call.
So I think there's some opportunity there for sure. And then, just like sort of tips moving forward, I would say this is the type of thing that is just out of sight, out of mind. And you're like, oh yeah, this is maybe a good reminder. I'm going to go tonight and look at my stuff. You pull the spreadsheet, you unsubscribe from a couple things, and you're like, cool, that was useful and awesome. And then it's out of sight, out of mind, and you don't do it again, right? So like to be a real nerd about this, I mean, you could put a calendar reminder to do like a quarterly review of doing this, right? And the more often you do it, the easier it is, right?
100%.
So if you did it every quarterly, hey, it's going to be a small lift every quarter, but you stay on top of it. Another cool idea, I've never been disciplined enough to do this, but it's a cool idea, is you could have like a virtual card or a credit card or a debit card specifically for subscriptions and put nothing else on it. Right. So you just have you just say, this credit card I don't use for anything. I'm just going to make this my dedicated subscription card. And then you can go put it on every single subscription on this card. Now it's really easy. It's that whole exercise I said to do before where you have to download it, categorize, do everything. Mm-hmm. Well, now you just pull up your one credit card statement and it has every single subscription you have.
Smart.
And nothing that's not a subscription. Right.
Yeah.
So if you have a credit card going, I don't know, you'd have to listen to some of our other podcasts to see if it would be worth it to actually get a new credit card. There's pros and cons that come with that. Mm-hmm. But if you have a credit card going spare that you're not using and you want to kind of clean up your finances, these are small tweaks you could make that make the organization of your finances easier long-term.
Definitely.
And then, just logging in and seeing like, oh, I had 8 transactions this month. I have 8 subscriptions. What are these? Oh, this one I haven't used in 2 years. Let's cancel it. Right. Yeah. So that'd be something interesting. This is an homage to what you mentioned earlier, if I'm using that word right, which I'm probably not. I'm a financial advisor, so
you don't speak French.
Avoid free trials, right? That's the classic example. So you mentioned my chess.com membership. I'll give the quick down and dirty of that story real quick here for those new listeners. But I downloaded. I quote unquote got into chess for like a day, right? And created a chess.com app, signed up for the free membership for like a month. I think I proceeded to log into chess.com like either 0 times or 1 additional time in my life, right? So I never used it, but so once this free the free trial like expired or terminated, then it put me on their premium membership or whatever, right? So it charged me like $99, and I was like, oh my God, they got me, right? And then so I was like, well, whatever, lesson learned. Like, that's my fault for not being diligent about this, right? And then so as the story goes, a year later, I'm looking. So I canceled the membership and everything. A year later comes, and they charge me again. I'm like, what the heck? And I had just forgotten to cancel it again, right? It was just like, well, yeah. And so now at this point, I do believe that is canceled.
Yeah. But, check, though.
Yeah, well, I got it. Yeah. But yeah, it's just a good example of it's so easy. I mean, there's a reason why they do free trials. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
They want to hook you. And so they didn't even hook me. I didn't even ever log in, but like their system auto renews and does everything. And so it took my action to actually log in and unsubscribe. And I neglected to do that. And so they got an extra $200 out of me, which was my own, silly mistake, but also good for them, I suppose.
Yeah.
So just be aware, just be wary of those free trials. Don't pull a Ryan and sign up for chess.com. And then there are so you mentioned this earlier, there are these third-party services. So I've never used any of these, but two that I've heard of are Trim and Rocket Money. They can help, like you were saying, identify subscriptions specifically and help you like unsubscribe supposedly. Again, I've never personally used one, so I don't know exactly what the interface is or how that works or how much, again, their subscription is, right? But I mean, if you're really overwhelmed by subscriptions, maybe something like that is a theoretical solution. Be something at least to do a little due diligence on.
Yeah, no, that makes sense for sure. Yeah. Just exploring those different options. And I think you're never going to, I don't know, like at least for myself, like if I see something that's cool and like I do get hooked by that 7-day free trial.
Oh yeah.
Like you mentioned that and I was like, oh yeah, I'm guilty of that specifically. Yeah. Like I'll use like I really recently I've been into kind of finding like AI artworking sites.
Oh yeah,
like artificial intelligence. And you like plug in something and you're like, cool, like you get a 7-day free trial and you can draw whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like but sometimes I'll do like a little caveat, like you can only use 50 drawings for this time or whatever. And like, so I'm like, oh yeah, totally. And you enter in your credit card and it said, hey, nothing will be charged until like a week from now. And so like I'll play around with it for like 2 days and then I'll just like be like, cool, I'm going to cancel this later. And then I just forgot to do it. And I'm just like, oh man, I didn't really like that one either.
Right.
And so I think that free trials, if it's kind of like, I think of free trials as like credit card reward points as well too. Sure. Like if you're diligent about using your credit, if you have the money to back it up, you put it on the credit card, you pay it off, you can just reap the rewards. You're coming out ahead. Awesome. But you miss one or two of those, right. And suddenly you're like, you got me kind of things for sure. But I think about like with subscription services too. Like we canceled our Netflix, and I haven't canceled Netflix in forever. Like I've had Netflix since I was like getting DVDs in the mail.
I didn't know anybody ever canceled Netflix.
Yeah, it's very hard to do. Like they make it tough. Like there's also a thing if you on their home screen, if you like just click on their home screen after you've canceled it, like we have the app on our TV, it's very easy to re-update. You have to click like one button and it's just like you're back kind of thing. So it's a little difficult to cancel and it's really easy to re-up with them for sure. But I think about like I just get like, sometimes I get some fear of missing out. Like people like something will blow up on the internet. They're like, oh my gosh, you got to see this new show that's on Netflix. And I'm like, darn it.
Yeah. It does that story about it being like kind of easy to sign up and hard to unsubscribe is interesting and kind of resonates with me. I recently, so through work, I have a ton of these subscriptions. And I recently, there was a bunch I didn't need. And so I was like unsubscribing and downgrading some, like we talked about Notion already. Yeah. And there were a bunch of other ones. And there were two providers in particular who were very challenging to get out of. There were, most of them you log in, you go to your account and there's some way to cancel or whatever. But there were two in particular that like there was no way to cancel. And like one, I had to get on the phone with them to cancel, and the other one I had to submit like a service request ticket to have it canceled. Oh, wow. And so, it's just kind of interesting. Some of these can be more challenging to get out of, and that's just another good reason I think to be more diligent on the front end and be like, oh, do I really want this subscription to begin with? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard to know, like, sometimes what you're getting into with those kind of things. Like, it's like, oh, you made it so easy to sign up. It must be so easy to cancel, too. And they're like, not really. Yeah. Like, I recently switched over our home security system, and I canceled it. And they're like, cool. Like, the cancellation's been submitted. You'll hear back within 30 days. And I was like, what? like, what do you mean? Like, what are we doing for 30 days then? They're like, well, if you want to come back, you have 30 days to come back. And I was like, no, I'm good. Kind of thing. So it is unique to see how different companies set those things up and
absolutely
what it is. But I mean, a lot of these places are still being pretty profitable. So there's something behind that for sure. I can only imagine the hassle it would be to cancel with Alchemy Wealth. Like
easy.
No, I'm just kidding. It's probably be pretty easy to do that. Never would want to though. Wouldn't recommend it. But,
sure.
Anything else you want to say on this subject here, Ryan?
No, I think we're good. I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, appreciate it. Check your guys' subscriptions without a doubt, and everybody hang tight. We'll be right back on the other side of this.
And now, to put the personal in personal finance.
Welcome back to this side of the Fiscal Physical podcast here. Ryan, we've talked about food a few times here on this podcast. I never really know what the word foodie means. I've seen it thrown around like a bunch, and I'm like, I don't know. I like to eat food. Does that make me a foodie? Like kind of thing. Like
sure.
So
you self-identify.
Yeah, I suppose so. So I was thinking about this one here, and this is a unique one. I got at this point he's 20 months old. I got a kid at home, and he just eats like a horse. He'll eat anything. He loves everything.
That's awesome.
And it's great. And I have people who come over with their kids, and they're like 2-3 years old, and they're like, oh, he doesn't eat this. He will only eat this. He only eats chicken fingers, whatever. Sure. Like, and I'm just like, oh, well, my son eats everything. And they're like, just wait till he figures out what actually really tastes good. And he's going to change like certain things. And I was like, all right, well, that's funny. So it made me think of this question here. What's a food as a kid you hated or wouldn't eat, but nowadays you actually really like? That's you've really changed your opinion on.
I feel like there's like that classic example of like every kid hates like broccoli and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And turns out I still hate broccoli. Yeah. I'm really not a big broccoli guy. I was thinking kind of like cheeky, like, like beer or whiskey.
Oh, sure.
Can't say I indulged in much of that as a child. And it definitely is an acquired taste, I think. Yeah. But I do think like vegetables in general, I wasn't a huge fan of vegetables going up, and I don't know that I'm still a huge fan of them, but I'm happy to tolerate them and eat them in a salad. And truth be told, if there's broccoli on my plate, I'm probably going to eat it. I'm not going to be happy about it, but I'll eat it.
I'm still going to throw a fit.
Yeah. But I'll eat it. Yeah. But so we'll go with vegetables.
Okay.
What about you?
Yeah. No. I was a relatively picky eater when I was a kid, like when I was a young kid. And one of the things, and I think about it now, I was like, oh my gosh, how was it? I didn't like cheese.
Oh, interesting.
I was not a cheese
choice.
Fan. Yeah. I would always get my hamburgers plain.
Interesting.
I just remember that. And I remember one time we went to McDonald's as kids, and there was like 4 kids of us, and we all ordered food, blah, blah, blah. And I was specific. My mom was like, hey, he wants his hamburger plain. It came with cheese, and I was just like, I ate around the cheese.
Funny.
Like, it was just like in a little patty, and I ate it all around it because my mom's like, we're not going to go back up there and do this. Yeah. And she's like, you're going to have to eat it. And I was like,
I'd like the record to show I'm actively judging you right now.
as you should. As you should, because I can't get enough cheese now.
Yeah.
But that's specifically one that like most people like cheese for the most part, but that was one that I was just like, no, I don't want to eat that. I don't want to. I don't know if it's a texture thing or whatever, but like now I really enjoy cheese.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's
delicious.
It is without a doubt. So, but there's several ones of those, like you mentioned, like broccoli, like just vegetables in general. I feel like that's a classic without a doubt. So I'm really curious to see as my son continues to develop, like what he's just like, no, I'm only having Teddy Grahams tonight or something like that.
Sure.
Like it's like, okay. Like I don't know. Like we watch. I have no idea. Like what's a good healthy amount of food. I'm just like, sure you're eating. Awesome. You're still growing. All right. Cool. There you go. Like so. I don't know. So hopefully that starts the conversation of you guys to think about something that you didn't like as a kid, maybe you like now, and hopefully that keeps you hooked, keeps you coming back for another podcast on the Fiscal Physical here. And Ryan, thank you as always. Anything left to say as we end this one?
As always, stay the course.
Thank you for joining us for the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Until next time, happy listening. And as always, stay the course. If you have a question or topic suggestions, please email us at podcast@alchemywealth.com. If you enjoyed today's discussion, subscribe to the podcast to ensure you never miss an episode. And consider leaving us a rating and review on your favorite platform. This helps other listeners like you find the show. For more resources, you can visit Alchemy Wealth Management's website at www.alchemywealth.com or find your fiscal physical, the book, on Amazon. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that personal finance is just that, personal. Please don't take anything we say as advice. The preceding content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It's not an offer or a solicitation, nor should it be construed or relied upon for tax, legal, or investment advice. It doesn't consider your personal financial situation or objectives and may not be suitable for you.